I'm ready. Are you ready?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm always ready. Let me get a sip of the Coors, though.
Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome back to another episode of the Off Grid Podcast. Today, super excited. I got my buddy, my business partner, my competitor who beat me out of the ProSpec license, Luis Lanz here. He's got a ton of history that we're going to cover in today's episode. His racing background before drifting and his business, and then kind of branching off into his piece of the pie with Zeknova. And yeah, we're just going to kind of talk about all kind of stuff today that revolves around Luis. He's the star of the show today. So
I beat you in the championship, but I've never actually beat you one-on-one on a battle, though.
I know. I always tell people, they're like, yo, he won, like, how many times did you guys battle? And I'm like, once or twice, but like I won, but like,
yeah,
he got the points. He got me.
Yeah.
I was always like, damn, I won 2 events. Luis didn't win a single event, and he still got the championship.
Yeah, consistency, bro.
That's right. People fail to realize, like, if you just place like top 4 all the time, like you'll go far.
Yeah, for sure. The points. And it was like I did 2. Like I placed second on all 3 events, and it's like that's pretty much what got it. Like it was, and then the 4th event, remember, I didn't even practice because it was like we didn't go on the car to break.
Oh yeah.
We just had to make it through the line. And like everything had to line up for you to actually win the whole championship.
Yeah.
And you won that event.
I won the event.
So it's like, if I wouldn't have, bro, it's so funny because if I wouldn't have done that, like not practice, and the car would have broken during practice, after that event, the car broke.
Yeah.
So that would have happened during practice, like the slave cylinder gave out. So you would have gotten it. You know,
I think when I did the math, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I had to number 1 qualify too. Did I or no?
On the 4th event?
Yeah. I thought I had to number 1 qualify and win.
You had to have number 1 qualifying and win, and me not make it through, like drive the car through top 32.
Right.
So that's why we didn't practice, because it's like it's like as much as I want to drive, if something were to happen to this car and Ryan wins the thing, which probably he would, it would have been like, I wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
So that's why we just sat during practice and just drove the car through the line and lost to Sasha because I had no seat time whatsoever. But I mean,
that event was crazy. I remember that's the event that I was like admittedly hungover.
Yeah.
And I was like, I did like no practice because I kept throwing up, and Freddie was like, I need you to give me a couple more laps. And I was like, you know that meme where it's like, I'm tired, Grandpa, and he's like, well, that's too damn bad.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. But I remember like going into the weekend and I was like, dude, like everything has to fall into place to even have a shot at this. In the round before, we had just jumped. Well, I jumped your car. We didn't jump each other's cars. I jumped on top of your car.
Yeah, dude, that was. It's good that if you put it on the screen.
Oh, definitely. I'll roll that right now.
Yeah.
What was that like from your perspective?
Dude, it was crazy because like I know a lot of people said that I put like my foot on the brake, but I didn't, bro. It's just like the cars are so hooked up.
Yeah.
Like I saw the yellow, I was like, okay, let off, and the car slows down when you let off, like by itself. And that's when I just felt it was like, oh, and then I looked back and she's like you climbing up there. I was like, oh my God. Like, I thought you flipped or something.
Yeah.
Like from
it
that
happened
perspective.
so fast that even from my perspective, I was just like, they were like, did you feel it? And I was like, not really. Like we had started the initiation. And so like, I was just like, okay, car's rotating, let's go. And then you let off, but it was kind of drastic because it happens so fast, like the decel going around a bank, like hooked up. You know what I'm saying? Like it happens.
Yeah.
I think we both learned mutual lessons.
I guess next time I'll just keep going at it, just like not let off as much.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like, it's just weird because like you see the yellow and it's like, oh shit. Like I don't know. It's kind of like you have such a small moment. And the worst thing's like those lights came on right at initiation. Like if it would have been like as soon as you make it through the chicane. But no, bro, it was like, it's like, I guess it was
because we had both already started like the rotate in to start the flick. So there was so much momentum already.
So it was like right there. Yeah, it was just like bad, but it happens.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
What's crazy is, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people watching know this, but like our cars looked like they were totaled, but like they weren't horrible. I mean, yours was way worse than mine was.
Yeah.
But both teams got the cars together.
Yeah, dude. Like
in 10 minutes. Like
it wasn't actually that bad. And it's like the whole rear end of my car. So you can take the whole thing apart and it looks like there's nothing back there. So it's just like body panels that you put on and stuff. What's more crazy is just like the tire, like it ended up like in the infield.
Yeah.
Like by itself. It was like, yeah, that was
wild.
That was wild.
It was so crazy. And then like before the next day, it was already on Lone Star Turf. Like,
Yeah, dude.
I was like, here it goes. Here's my moment of fame. Like,
Oh no, I knew that was gonna blow
Yeah,
up. Like
yeah.
it was, and it didn't blow up as much because there was nobody captured it like really good.
Yeah.
So the drone footage, the guy ran out of battery, so
Yeah.
the drone wasn't in it. That wouldn't look even crazier. But yeah, I think like a more because the only footage that there is from the live stream, and it's all like blurry and stuff.
right. And then
So-
that one iPhone video, but
Yeah.
like none of it shows the magnitude of how like fast
Yeah.
and like aggressive it was.
Like I was waiting for like a close up, slow down, just like climbing up there. That would have been so sick.
It's like the Cars scene where he's like soaring through the air.
Yeah, I wanted to do that. So it's like I told like I think I had one kid editing my stuff. It's like, dude, you have to do this with Ricky Bobby, like
Yeah.
flying through the air. But it's like the footage wasn't there. It was just like you couldn't slow it down. It's
Right.
like you cut the frame and it's like already out. So whatever. But it was
Good times.
good times. Yeah.
Good times. Well, shit, you're kind of doing the Pro-Am again. You're like doing like just for fun. Like I know you're not trying to like point block anybody. So
Yeah, and it kind of like so on the live stream for the last Pro-Am event. So I took my pro car because that was like my road up to New Jersey. So I had the pro car and the demo car, but they're painted exactly the same. If you don't really know the car, you think it's the same car. So I remember like Tiny and the other guy talking on things like, oh no, so here's Luis on the line with his spotter on the thing, probably talking like strategy of what they're doing. I'm like, no, dude, this is my demo car on 255. I had no spotter because it's just for fun, you know, like I kind of like a lot of people were arguing like, oh, why I'm doing this again? Like if I already have the license and whatnot, but it's like I'm doing the demo car on 255. It's not like I'm really trying to win it. And if you can't beat me on that car, it's kind of like deserve, you know, it's
you
not.
should be able to beat you with like no
Yes.
spotter, like barely any team.
Yes.
Like it's like you like driving for fun, unhooked up, like
Yeah.
not paying attention to how your line is, not paying attention to what anyone else is doing. Like
100%. And I was practicing on the pro car because I wanted to get some laps before we went up. And I competed on the demo car. So it's like, even though it's the same, it's a Corvette, but they're way different animals. Like it's
Certainly.
completely different. And the demo car, I have it on zero toe. Like I have it just to have fun with my buddies. But it's still a pretty quick car, considering. But yeah, dude, I'm not trying to win Pro-Am, but it's definitely a comp that's there and it's so close to home that it's like, I have to do it. Like I'm
Yeah,
going to
why
be
not?
taking tire to the guys anyway. So
it's good marketing for you. It's good branding for Zeknova. Like being out there showing face at another series, like getting clips, getting media. Like it's a no-brainer. Like I don't see why anybody has a problem with it. Now, if you were out there with the damn JR 500s or something in the pro car, I'd be like, get this fucker out of here.
yeah,
Like,
dude, that's actually like, I wanted to. We can't do it because the pro car is up in Denver right now.
Oh, wow.
But I was like, dude, I kind of want to like just go and like at least a seating bracket that doesn't really count for anybody. Like if you
Yeah.
lose on the seating, it doesn't really matter. Just do it on the pro car just to see like
I would
how
have
crazy
all
it
over
is.
Facebook. I would have been like, bully Lewis to the ground for showing up with this setup.
Yeah. But dude, they're so fast. It's just
I
so
want to try
crazy.
'em. I got to at least try them. I refuse to compete on that tire because I don't think it should be here. Like
Yeah,
But-
you know, it's kind of like if it's any R compound tire, really, like you could use it. It's just gonna
Right.
be, it's definitely would be everybody's gonna be at a disadvantage. Like
Yeah.
no one's gonna get even close to you.
it's one of these
Right.
Florida tryhards is gonna show up with that tire on fucking 10 psi.
Yeah, I don't think you can run them at 10.
Probably
Like,
not.
It's
Like you'd need like 1400 horsepower. Probably.
Yeah.
You'd need like a Pro 1 car.
yeah. When I tested them, we were at 20 psi, and the first couple of laps, like I couldn't drive it. It was like
bogging
it was-
down in the pro car.
You have to, in the pro car, you have to send it in every turn. Like it's not like it won't go sideways. You know,
yeah,
it wants
there's
to
no like
straighten up.
leeway. There's no margin of slip. It's like you got to be like
You
locked
gotta
in and committed.
send it up. I feel like it's when you see the guys driving the RTR Mustangs, you know, like they're so hooked up that you have to send it into every corner. If not, it's not gonna look good.
Right. There's like not even a window.
Yeah.
So let's kind of get a little bit of a background on you because when I first met you, you were driving. Were you driving a Z? I think you were driving a Z, right? Or am I tripping? You had a 370Z?
Originally, I was driving a Z, but you might have I think the first time we met was at Clutch Kickers, that I had just gotten the Corvette.
True.
That we went
yes.
against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the first time that I remember meeting you.
Yeah.
Because I barely drove.
I forgot we did
OSW.
battle at Clutch Gears. Like
Yeah,
Emerald Coast.
that's what I'm saying. Every single time you're
Damn.
beating me, dude.
I forgot that happened entirely.
Yeah.
What? Damn, I gotta find that footage.
Yeah.
That was season 2, right? Or 1? Or
That was, I think it was season 1. I had just finished building the vet.
did I have a VQ or?
Yeah, you were on
Oh
the.
damn! It must have. Yeah.
Was it a gray 350 that you had?
Yeah. Before the ISR livery and the LS,
Yeah.
like it was just plain gray.
Yeah.
That's
that was
right.
it.
Dang, that's crazy. I gotta look that up. I forgot we did that.
Yeah, dude. And it was I was such a noob back then. Like it was because it was starting drifting and not knowing much about anything. Like I was still using like crappy tires, whatever I would find used. Like that was it. And then I remember for clutch kickers, I bought like one Achilles 123S, and going from like a crappy tire or like some takeoffs or whatever into that tire, it was like night and day. Those 123Ss are like maybe what Zeknovas are now, like so grippy. And yeah, that was such a bad idea. Like it was like just going from no grip to like gripped up. Yeah.
Well, so your background really started in like road course racing, though, right? Or like, what was how did you even get into like motorsports racing in general?
So it's something that I wanted to do my whole life. Like growing up, I wanted to do go-karts. That was like my thing. But how expensive it was, and my parents were more into like normal style baseball. Like that's what I grew up doing. It was like baseball bat and gloves. So I started off when I first got my first car, which was a Ford Focus. That was
nothing wrong with the Focus.
Yeah, no,
I don't know why we laugh. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of Focus owners out there.
So autocross, that's what I could afford. And on my first car, I started doing autocross. Like I almost like whenever I could, it was like $50 to 4 laps, 5 laps
Here
or whatever.
in Florida, or
yeah, Homestead is where they would do it. And I did that for probably like 4 or 5 years until I was able to like get something else. After a Focus, I had a 350Z and a couple of Subarus. Like I will flip cars here and there. But eventually, when I could finally afford some track time, like real tracks, like track days, I started doing like HPDEs and things like that. And mainly going for the goal of getting the instructor license, so that because instructors on HPDs, you don't pay for track time. So as long as you instruct somebody that day, you drive your track day like for free essentially. And it's not really free because you're still working.
yeah, you're
like,
working for it, but it saves you dollars.
Back in the day, it was like $300 each.
Oh shit!
Now it's like $500. So yeah, I got so much track time because of that. Because I would do almost every weekend, just go to a track, and since I have free track time, I just had to pay, for tires or whatnot. And yeah, I did that for probably like 10 years. Just like learning to drive, getting better, which essentially I always wanted to race myself, like going to actual road racing and competing against other people. But again, the money aspect of it, it's extremely expensive. And knowing how to do it, didn't really have anybody in the industry that could like go with until eventually this guy, a friend of mine that I met through the same HPDE, Walter, he was running Farah on a 350Z. Farah is the ones that they do at Homestead. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's a small grassroots, somewhat road racing that he was gonna do some endurance races. It was like 4 or 5 hour endurance. And he's like, hey, I need another driver. Do you want to come? I'm like, yeah, I want to go. So that first race, we ended up like second place. And that's like, man, it's like, I actually thought to myself like, oh, wow, I could actually do this and go against people. And I raced with Walter for that whole season. And I think the half of a season. And by that time, I was like, okay, I got to have my own car to compete by myself. And then drifting kind of like came into place while I was doing that. Mainly because I've been doing the whole track stuff for like 10 years. But I never, even though I would drive a lot on PBIR, that was like the home track where most of the weekend events were. Dude, I never saw drifting. It was like, it's two completely different worlds. You go to like an HPD event, it's more like older crowd, like older people,
Yeah.
very organized, rich, most of them, Ferraris, Lambos.
Yeah, because a lot of them like don't get into it until they're kind of older. They have extra retirement money. They kind of their businesses made it big. Their stocks cashed out, and now they're buying their brand new Corvette and New Balances and ready to hit the next track.
Exactly. Where you compare that to a drift track day, and then like it's like, bro,
it's like
a party.
16-year-old kids with the seat.
Yeah, exactly. Just swiping that credit card to get those tires or whatever. Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't.
At least use my code and save some money.
There you go.
You don't want to go in debt.
Yeah.
Definitely don't want to go in debt. I always tell Dad that I'm like, hey, if there's ever anything that like is a stretch for us, like we'll just dial it back. There is never any need to like try and reach. I know of a lot of people that like went into Pro 1, went into Pro 2 back in the day. And like they like severely kind of financially hurt themselves because they ran like a whole season on credit, and you have that you're like chasing that. You feel like it's a grasp away getting the golden ticket where it's like, oh, like next year sponsors will pay for it all and I can pay all this back, and I'm gonna do good and it's sponsors will come and I'll get this seat or whatever. But then life happens, drifting happens, you go off track at a round and you do that 2 out of 4 rounds, and then you realize you spent $70,000 and your whole season crumbled and you placed at the bottom, and nobody is giving you more money than they did last year, and now you got a mountain of 1 year's debt to pay off, and you can't even drive the next year because you got to spend that year paying off that debt.
Yeah, dude.
So.
It's I'm so glad that I waited so long to do this that I'm doing now. And it's something that probably companies hate me for saying this so much, but if you have to dig yourself in a hole to do this, chances of you making it are so slim, or making it in the sense of like making money from it or being able to pay all these bills up, because it's so expensive that you're not gonna dig yourself out of that hole. And it looks like, so ever since I started doing this, I always thought, okay, if I win this championship, then I'm gonna get a really good sponsor. And this has happened for 3 years in a row, and that big sponsor has not come. Obviously, there's so many things that you have to take into consideration. Social media is so big, and the sport growing and having more eyes on it, obviously, is going to bring more sponsorship money. But at the moment, it's really difficult to get there. And one of the things, like, so if you see, for example, like pro baseball or whatnot, like shoes, shirts, like all these big companies want, none of these guys are paying for that. They're getting this stuff because they want people to see that, oh, this is what this guy wears and I look up to him. Now I'm going to wear that. Drifting is not there yet. Like, even though I think it should be, but at the moment it's not. So yeah, it's a lot of those things that are like, try to build your business, try to find some way of sponsors actually paying for it to then go to the next step. Which brings me back why I'm 35 doing this and not back when I was like 16, 20, where I wanted to do it, but probably wouldn't have been able to afford it. And the other thing is like, I would have dug myself in a hole so big that it would have taken me probably 10 years to get out of it. And
then once you would have got out of it, you wouldn't have been like, okay, now that I am stable, let's go for it again. You know what I mean? That's
make that same mistake again.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that's a valid point. Like I'm lucky to where when I was 16, Dad had the money, or my parents both had the money, but I started with Dad because I was going to touch on Dad being a car guy and being very enthusiastic about it. And so like, yeah, let's give it a go. I definitely had a great starting platform that gave me a lot of leverage off the bat where I didn't have to worry about that. But like the average person doesn't get that. So I'm fully aware of that. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, that's like kind of what happens in, a capitalist country. There's opportunity for, everybody's dealt different cards. Some people get a really bad hand and it sucks, but it's the one construction where you have a chance to build something. Yeah. And so I was obviously dealt a great set of cards, and for what I wanted, ended up finding a passion in it. Couldn't have been more perfect. Dad being into cars and stuff and loving it. So obviously I had a great stepping stone for that and a great platform to start on, but not everybody does. And sometimes it's not that it's not worth it and that you should give up, but like, you have to be more methodical about it. Like, there's so many years ahead of you that like you don't need to like eat soup because you want to go to this fun drift event. Like, I don't know. It's just my personal thing on it. It's easy for me to say that because I've never been in that position.
Yeah, but at
the same time, like I watch it hurt people financially, and I'm just like, you need, it's drifting isn't going to make you like a more healthy lifestyle in person. Like, so like when you give up what you do have to try and like chase that, it's like you just hurt yourself even more. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But from an outside point of view, like I see what you're doing, and you were dealt these cards and you were using them to the best that you can, the podcast and like building everything. And you have the business mindset of, I watched your other podcast. You were talking about like what you want to do with the shop and whatnot. So it's regardless of the cards that you were dealt, it all comes down to you. It doesn't matter, because you see so many kids that, rich parents, millions of dollars, they could have any car they want, and they could do it for a season or whatnot, and then be like, they don't work for it. But then you see the kids that do, and that's where you see the difference. That's where you see greatness and people that don't really care much for it. So regardless of the cars that you get, as long as you grab them and you deal with what you have and try to grow from it, dude, we're in the country that has the most opportunities in the world, I think.
Right.
And if you want to make it, you will make it.
And you know that firsthand.
100%. Like coming from a third world country with like bankruptcy, and then just making it from hard work. Because I'm not smart, like at all. I'm probably the dumbest dude you've ever met.
You're smart in the right places. You know what I'm saying? You're business smart. You're entrepreneurship smart.
And I think just the work
that's
ethic.
What matters.
Yeah,
it's like about making money at least.
Yeah, and if you ask all my high school classmates, they'll be like, "Yeah, dude, he was so dumb." But it's just a work ethic. Like I've always been like, I'll try and keep trying until I actually like make something happen. And learning from it, at the end of the day, as long as you're learning and not making the same mistake over and over, you'll make it. And it comes to the whole drifting aspect of where money comes. If you have any ideas or anything that would help you make a business out of it, and actually whenever you go on a weekend, try to make some money off of it, that's what's gonna make you, like that's what's gonna fund your program before any sponsor will. Because you're always gonna wanna build your own thing bigger than anything else. So if you have a business that can come from it, it'll definitely help you out to cover these expenses that they're definitely gonna be there. So yeah, that would be an advice for anybody that's in it. Because you could work for example, for myself, I could work on trying to get more social media and whatnot, which we are doing. But I feel like if I work or something else that's my own, we can grow it to be something that covers this. And then you don't have to deal with anybody like saying, oh, you have to do this or you have to do that. As long as you can make a business out of something that would be profitable and be able to help you cover all these expenses, I think that's the way to go, really.
For sure. Yeah, because I was actually telling my friend this the other day. She was asking about like partnerships and stuff and companies' perspective on investing in drivers. And I was like explaining to her, I was like, nobody ever believes in you more than yourself. Like no one is ever going to believe in you more than yourself. Like if you have the grit and the hustle and you have that entrepreneurship winner's mentality, whether or not you're going to make it, because you either believe in yourself to that extent, you're that in a good way, you're that delusional that that you're going to drive that GT3 RS one day and you're going to have it. If you're that delusional in a good way, you're the only person that's ever going to be able to see that. Company, you can pitch a company so good and that will get you money. But at the end of the day, no one is going to believe in you more than yourself. So if you can find, like you're saying, an avenue to something to build, something to offer the community. We see it with companies that build suspension or angle kits or Mustang parts. Like Scotty D started like building Mustang stuff years and years ago. Finding that avenue, finding that craft, something that you believe in yourself. You will always work harder for something that you created and that you're prideful in than you will for any other company. And you got way more opportunity to grow because you are it once you take that choice.
Definitely. And sponsorship contracts are usually like 1 year,
right.
You could grow somebody else's company or help them grow it, or you could help your own. So and I know that the hardest part is finding that, like, what is it that I can offer so it'll be profitable or people want to buy it. And unfortunately, we can't give, it can't be like, oh, just go this route, because that doesn't exist. And if you see anything online that says, oh, pay for this $300 thing, and then after that you're gonna have all the ideas, just don't do it. Like,
no, just watch this podcast instead. Just listen to people.
Yeah, like just work on it for yourself. There are opportunities out there. There's tons of things that are missing and needs to be done.
And it doesn't happen overnight. Like, sometimes I get frustrated and I'm like, damn, dude, I'm working so hard. I'm like, day in and day out, I'm researching, I'm learning, and I'm just trying to find what's going to be like my avenue. What street am I going to turn down that's going to be a business rabbit hole? But you have to, I always tell this to myself, the phrase, wait your turn, right? Like everyone that's successful it's always a different time. It's always a different age. They never gave up. They didn't stress themselves out. They just waited their turn. They kept pursuing what they were passionate about. They kept on that mindset of learning and trying to figure out what would work. And eventually it happened. You started, went down that avenue, and it didn't work out instantly. You weren't like, 20 years
20
old.
years
like,
to be where I'm at.
So me as like a silly 21-year-old getting frustrated that I haven't found that yet, or I haven't found that niche, or that light bulb hasn't struck where I'm like, we need this. And like, I can figure out a way to produce it and sell it and market it. It's like, I can't get mad at myself. Like, if it's not meant to happen to me at 21 years old, it's not meant to happen. It takes time. It will fall into place when it needs to. Look at everyone else. It fell into place for you. And while you were 20 grinding and thinking like that, it didn't just happen at 20 because you were working so hard for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a linear process. It's not like, hey, put your head down and grind for a year and make your whole lifestyle figuring out how to build a business and how to, do something, and it just spawns. It doesn't just happen. You know what I mean? This is the real world. Like, there's a lot to it.
And if you enjoy the process, doing it, like I said, it took me 20 years to be right now where I'm at. And obviously the first 5 years, I don't want to go back to that. But then
that struggle, it's tough.
After that, it's, just trusting the process, doing what you love. If every day that you're doing, it's something that you love. Like, nowadays, I still have struggles, obviously, but even though I reached my being a race car driver goal, I still have struggles, and we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do for, having enough money for the next season, or engine didn't do well, so we need another motor. So things like that you don't think that you reached to where your goal was, and that's it. It's like, you look at Vaughn, like, he's probably the most successful drifter there is. And he's still struggling every day and like trying to, have new goals. And I think like as long as you keep raising the bar and setting yourself new goals and enjoying the road that you're taking to get to them, that's what's gonna make your life. It definitely makes mine, and I enjoy every minute of it now. Full time invested into the whole race car thing. So it's, even though we haven't made it yet, you can't really say that you have. But as long as you enjoy it, I think that's it. I think that's basically the answer of life. The minute I don't enjoy it anymore, I'll stop doing it and I'll do something that I do enjoy.
Right. Like, fall in love with the process, not the results.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The results will always be short.
Grit of working hard, of chasing that next bit, like millionaires say it all the time. Like, once I got my first million, I wanted 5. Yeah. And then once I got to 5, I wanted 10. Yeah. And then once I got to 10, I needed to see 100 million. And then I needed to see 1 billion. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I think that's why they're like that. It gets to a point that if you set a goal and you make it and that's it, it's like, that doesn't really happen. Anybody that sets high goals like that, they're going to keep going.
Yep.
I don't know. It's like playing a video game and you finish and you want to keep going for more, It's like...
fall in love with that chase, that grind.
For sure.
I think if people like... This is just personally how I tuned that in mentally, and I feel like I reference the gym all the time, and it's super silly and corny, but I didn't think like that and have that kind of approach on life until I started the gym. And I always when people kind of feel like they're lost or they need some direction, I always tell them, I'm like, do you ever tried fitness or working out at all, or a gym grind? And they're like, no, that's corny. Or no, I haven't. It's hard to get motivated. And I get that. But what I love about getting people onto the gym is that if you are in that kind of shoe, it is the first thing that will teach you that one, like I just said, fall in love with the process, not the results. Because it's the one thing that you have to commit yourself to something every single day for a year. Essentially, everybody's different genetically, but let's say a year generally before you see 1 ounce of progress.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not for the weak-minded. It's not for the weak. It's a thing that you have to have the grit to dedicate yourself to change your diet around, to change the way your day-to-day is. and still put in the work for the first year without really seeing anything, without getting anything out of it. Like if you don't have that grit to like invest yourself into something for a year, like the gym, how are you going to invest yourself into a business that it may take 5 years to take off and become the next $1 billion thing? You know what I mean? It's not. So I always tell people that, or just want that guidance. Like that was the light bulb for me that like channeled that kind of mindset. Is like once I like got in the gym and like spent forever and like I'm still tiny, but like I was like 20 pounds lighter. So like when I first saw some results, I was like, whoa, like you see like progress based on just busting your ass, regardless of if it seems like it's working.
Yeah.
And one day you see that little bit of growth. Yeah. And then a couple months later, you see 10% growth. And that you can apply that to business. You can apply that to whatever you're chasing, whether it's like a degree or chasing a business or whatever you're doing, you know, chasing a dream and drifting or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a good little avenue that I always try and push people. I don't try and push people down, but I'm just like, hey, if you feel like lost or like you want to like change your mindset, how you approach things, and you don't do that already, consider this. Cause like it will open your eyes on life and the person. There's more to learn from it than just like, oh, I'm big. Like it's like, there's a lot that comes up here when you kind of put yourself in that kind of journey. And you do that because you started like training and running and like conditioning yourself to be more effective. And
dude, it's like, you know, and it's something like if you hate something like you did it once and then you hated it and you think you're going to hate it for the rest of your life, like don't try it again. You know, it's been a while. Just give it a shot. I hated running when I was growing up, when I was in high school or when I was practicing baseball and stuff. Man, I didn't hate anything more than running. But, you know, life gives you different perspectives, and now I love it. It's like I started doing it as a way of like conditioning myself, trying to get better behind the wheel. And one thing that led me to that was, I don't know if you've ever done shifter karts, like go-karts, like shifter karts.
But I heard they're really hard. and I heard it's like a lot of physical fatigue.
Yes. So I thought I was a pretty good race car driver and I could hang, until I got behind the wheel of one of those, and after a lap or two, I couldn't I couldn't hold my breath. It was so much, it was so difficult, and I'm like, damn, I can't be like this, you know. So that pushed me a bit to start running, and it's just like the mental state that when you're running and you're pushing yourself and your heart is about to like come out of your chest, that you're there and you can keep going and just keep a nice mental thing of what you're doing. Man, that made it for me. It's like, absolutely. I have to absolutely 100% do it. And it kind of sucks because this year I haven't been able to train as much as I was, even though I should be training harder. But it's just like the traveling and always having to do something either with the rig or the car, or like there's always something going on. This year is being like, I'm off of it. But as soon as I can, I go for a run and I'm like, wow, I have to do this at least like a little bit every day, just because it puts you in such a good mental state. Everything opens up, and you're like, even though your heart's beating out of your chest, like your mind is just like going through so many things. Like you can see clear, you know, like it's like right after a storm. It's awesome. So if you can go out for a run, dude, do it. It's so awesome. It feels amazing.
Yeah, you don't have to like go lift weights. That's the avenue that I took, but I think running, it does an equally good job, if not better. Because I think what it does is both of them like teach you and train your mind for composure. Yeah. Because what it does is it allows you to develop the ability to concentrate and think clearly and beyond what you could normally, not doing it when your body is under the most unconditional stress, the most physical stress, the most adrenaline. You know, you push yourself to the limits, but while you're doing it, because it's something that requires so much concentration, but it's also freeing and you're thinking while you're doing it. You know what I mean? You have all these, your brain is flowing. It teaches you that composure, and it just unlocks I almost feel like it unlocks a piece of your brain that like you didn't even know you had.
Oh, 100%.
Because when people are always like, oh, you know, like you got a sim and started driving really good. And I'm just like, no, there was so much behind the scenes effort. Like I got to a point where like I conditioned my brain to just be like you condition your brain. The best way to put it is you condition your brain to be the most relaxed when you're under the most stress. Yeah. When your body is freaking out and your adrenaline's high and you're in this high tense situation, you end up becoming the most concentrated and the most free and the most relaxed up here. Yeah. And that's the key to like driving a race car good and not fumbling, not exiting a corner bad, not randomly approaching an outer zone wrong than you've done the entire day. You can do all the laps. You can be a badass driver. But if you can't hold it together what's all that worth? You know
100%.
what I mean? There's so many guys that are so damn good. They lay down these 95-point runs, but they choke. And it's like, you are a great driver at physically doing it, but you don't have the composure to do that from top 32 to final and undergo no change up here and just keep it together and just be cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah.
And like working on that will take you very far if you haven't already started doing that. Like,
yeah, 100%. I think like 80-90% of drifting is all in your head, dude. It's like you could be a really good driver, but if your head is not in the right space, you're gonna mess up. And all these things that happen when you're in that car, like the high temperatures and you're sweaty and like it's hot and it's burning, it's like your heart rate goes up. I don't know if you have a heart rate meter whenever you're in the car.
I don't. I have an Apple Watch, so I guess I probably could use that. I'm kind of curious to know like what my body does. I never thought about that.
Yeah, look at it whenever you are. So in terms of calories, this thing also counts my calories. I don't remember my heart rate. I think it goes to like 150 when I'm in the car. And it's not because I'm scared or adrenaline. Like, I don't feel that at all. It's just the being hot in the cockpit, like going through those spaces, it just shoots it right off. So normally on a day-to-day, like my calorie burn thing, it says like it's 2,500. When I'm at a racetrack, that whole day, I do like 5,000 calories too. So it's twice the amount of calories that I burn because I'm in the race car. And after every race, it's funny because I just eat the world. I want to eat everything. Well, obviously, because it's like you burn so many calories, your body's asking for that intake.
By the end of the
on.
day, you were eating your own body fat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. So if you're any day that you're in the car, if you can put a watch on you, you will see how like the difference on heart rate of what it is and how it makes you. Even though you don't feel like if you're running in there, but your heart rate is up there. So the more comfortable that you can be on that cockpit, it's definitely going to make you way better as a driver, 100%. Guaranteed.
Without a doubt. And that's why I started like driving in my suit everywhere. I made sure that I was always in the same position. I made sure that when I'm practicing, I'm not in a less hot car or a less hot environment. Yeah. It's like, no, if I'm going to do the job in this car, in this, setup, in this configuration, I'm going to train like that, like fight like you train or whatever the saying is. Like, and no, that's a good idea. Paying attention to that, and that's smart.
Yeah, definitely. It's like all this data that you can gather like for yourself is definitely, you need it. Like it's things that you can change or find ways to make it better if you want to do this as a professional. Yeah. It's like you have to. And then you can see the difference of like F1 drivers to like anything else. Like this is all they do, but obviously they have the means and everything for it, but they train every single day of their life. It's what you're supposed to be doing at a professional level. And that's my end goal too. Like if I could do this fully professionally, that my day-to-day would just be like hit the gym, train, hit the same a little bit, drive. I think that's the only thing that professional drifting is missing, that it's not at that level that like F1, you live your life to be a drift car driver. Most of the guys, they still have a business to run, things to do. And I think once it reaches that level, the battles and everything is just going to go to a next, it's going to be amazing. Like,
and I think we'll see that when people with this kind of mindset that we're talking about really start to just be like pumping out like a damn factory. You know what I mean? Like these kids start coming out of the woodworks. I feel like you see more of that in Europe. Like, I don't know if they're necessarily doing what we're talking about, but it just seems like these kids are like next level. And it's not just because they're young and on the sim, because there's plenty of kids that are young and on the sim. Whatever they're doing is obviously crafting some crazy driving. I don't know how much they're doing what we're talking about, but I know for myself that I saw like direct immediate results when I like shifted my perspective and started training myself physically and mentally to be able to handle that kind of stress. And I think it's a very overlooked thing. And then when people are like, oh, like this isn't F1, like you don't need to do that, or like we're not doing that, it's like you're setting your own barrier with just like, like with what knowledge are you setting this barrier? You know what I mean? Like no other professional motorsport and very serious like athletic sport at that level is not training to an unfathomable degree. Like college football, professional basketball, even people that play golf, like their routine and their drive and their fitness plan and all that is like so next level compared to like the average person, or compared to a lower level of what they're doing. And they don't just do that for fun. Like,
Yeah.
they're not just like beating the shit out of their body and like revolving their whole life around being the best that they can physically make themselves so they can do good on that Tuesday night basketball game. It's like that's what they have to do for that level. Yeah. And eventually, like you're saying, drifting will get to that level where that is the standard. And drivers are expected to work their absolute asses off to be the best of the best physically, mentally, to have that little bit of an advantage and be a little bit lighter, to be a little bit faster.
Because that's all you need. You just need that extra edge.
You need the edge.
And two things that I want to point out on that, and one of these are probably going to be pretty controversial and people are going to like be mad about.
I love it. I love it.
I was looking at I don't remember who it was that they were talking about sim racing and how if you grab one of these kids that are amazing on the sim and like they're perfect, they're robots, you put them on a real drift car and they're going to win everything. And absolutely not, they won't, just because of that exact same factor of being on a real race car with getting really hot. Even though when I drive the sim, it gets really hot and uncomfortable, especially if you're wearing the VR, but it's not the same, dude. It's like just being out there. You probably have to just drive your rig 20 hours to get to where you are. You're exhausted mentally and physically. Then you have to get on the car, drive your laps. You don't get unlimited amount of laps with unlimited amount of tires the same way that you do on the sim. You could just repeat over and over again until you get perfect at it. Here you get an hour and a half. That would equal to 8 laps, if so, to do the perfect lap that you can and then go after it. So that's the difference that you see, like virtual sim and people, their lines it's insane. If you were to look at a competition in real life that way, it's like they're robots, dude. It's like it's perfect every single time. And so yeah, I really don't think if you put any of these kids on a real car, even with like a year of training, if that's all they do the same way as all the other drift car drivers that there are, there's no training, there's no daily practice or whatnot, they're gonna do, I'm not saying they're gonna do bad, but they'll be doing exactly the same way as normal drift car drivers do nowadays because of these extra factors that come into play. They definitely, it's a good avenue to start. Sim is amazing to start off, and it'll save you so much money for when you get into it in real life. But there's these extra factors that come into play that you can't really see them, and they're on the back end, and only the guys that are really in drifting know about it. So yeah, that's like one of those things that might be, a little saucy to put out there, but it is what it is. I really think so. And
well, I have a point that kind of ties into that and is an actual, in my opinion, a piece of like solid evidence that about that kind of like outlook and theory on it. Kind of circling back to what I was saying, there are many dudes who can lay down, you can send them out and they're going to lay down this badass fast, like 90 plus qualifying run. And they're not winning events. They're not podiuming all the time. They're, you know what I mean? They're sick drivers. They're laying it down, but other factors in their life or their ability to perform start to finish, 30 qualifying to finals, holding it together, not making mistakes is preventing them from winning. So I think the idea that because these kids are so amazing on the sim and you can throw them in a real car and they can train for a year and they'll just instantly start winning events is a little bit of a silly concept, because there are people already in real life who you go watch who show up to a track and in practice they're laying down these 99-point runs and then they place top 16 and top 8 because they didn't have the other skills and consistency that it takes to go through the entire bracket, holding it together, dialing back from that 99 robot run to accommodate and adjust to a different driver and a different speed. There's all these factors that tailor in other than just being able to do the damn thing good.
Yeah. And the amount of variables, dude, like in real life, it's just infinite amount of variables of things that could happen.
For sure.
And from engine failures, like cars breaking things, it's just like you can't, teams have like, having a good team is so necessary in drifting. It's like, it's what's going to make or break you. It's a lot of the guys that fall out during a competition, most of the times it's because of a car failure. And if you think about these extra factors that go in, it makes it even so different and so difficult, because on the sim, you're at 100% every single time. Everything's working perfectly. Right. Except for now, I'm seeing like, lag and some extra stuff that happens, which I guess it's like the real life variables that come into play, you know, lag.
It's like, damn, he teleported super far in front of me. Like, yeah, because in real life, like, we're not using the same car pack, bro. Like, Lewis is in a light Corvette. He's probably faster than me and my heavy Z. Like, it's on the same tire. Except for OSW. I had you beat her on OSW. We had that car fast.
Yeah.
I remember Freddie coming up to me and he was like, I think it was Freddie. Or it was somebody else's spotter, but I think it was Freddie. He was like, damn, bro. Like, your car is faster than Lewis's around the track, but y'all are on the same tire, and your car weighs like 300 pounds more. They were like, what the fuck's going on? And I was like, maybe it's the body weight difference. Like, I don't know. Like,
I think we dialed it back a little bit on OSW just because of having a better overall. The other thing is, like, some people are fast, but then you don't want to be the fastest because then you might have a hard time following the slower car. So it's like,
especially at our level where there's like, you might get the hat draw and it's like a VQ car.
Yeah.
It's not even that it's like a slow fast car.
Yeah.
It's like a really slow car that you have to like damn near handbrake around the track. Like, you know, we always preach like getting really good at left foot braking and not handbraking. But when I chase like a slow car, like, because I'm worried about like bogging it, I literally will just like do long handbrake pulls and just rev the shit out of it and then let it go and then light it back off.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not doing no left foot brake on this like VQ car. I'm gonna surge in and just rip the handbrake and just slow the car all the way down.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that come into play and definitely that's one of them, like how fast you are around the track. And yeah, I think that's what it was for us. We dialed it back a bit because just throughout the whole season, my car was so fast compared to everybody else. I think that's what gave me the championship, a proper car that was faster. Like, and the Zeknova.
That's how I feel about my second place. I'm like, we finally got a car that was a cut above the rest, and I was performing good, so it was a very hard package to beat. Same with you, like.
Yeah, and like nobody was running the Zeknovas in Pro-Am last year, so it was like
me, you, and then I think who else?
Christian was in the Zex.
But there wasn't that many.
No, nobody else.
And there's still a lot of people in our Pro-Am, at least, that we're both competing in that are running like Accelera, Kenda, some other brands, which none of those are bad. Like Felinos are obviously really good, but I think the Zek, and I'm not saying this because I'm sponsored, because we'll dive into this, because I drove for a whole year on Zeks out of pocket, completely out of pocket, no discount, nothing, just like because we tested on the tire the same day as a Velino 08C, back-to-back sessions, same pressures. We went through extensive testing, and I was like, this car is bogging and is physically timed faster around the track on the Zeks, and we're getting roughly the same lap. So I was like, with our heavy slow Z, like, this is the wave. So yeah, the Zeks are good, and I think last year that I served a way better advantage because so many cars weren't on the Zeks, whereas like now it's like, damn, everybody caught up and they're getting on the Zeks.
Yeah, dude, it was like we found a cheat. It wasn't really cheating, but we found a way,
found a little like exploit,
extra edge that it just. And it comes down to like having a better car. Like, it's definitely gonna make you faster than anybody else if you can gap people behind you. Like, it is what it is. That's how you most of the times you win, you know.
Yep.
So
that
yeah,
edge. Well, like we were saying, you always got to fight for that edge.
Yeah.
And if that edge comes down to spending, you know, let's say you're running a cheaper tire right now, and to run, let's say it takes, I don't know, like let's say a 4 or 500 horsepower car takes 16 events or 16 tires to win like an event at like Sebring. What's the price difference between running like a 16 times your current like budget friendly tire versus 16 Zeks? How much more is it? Okay,
yeah,
let's say it's only $300 more, you know, whatever the math is on that extra per tire. I don't know. But let's say it's 300, 500, maybe even let's say it's $1,000 more. It's going to give you the edge that's going to turn your car from being competitive in top 16 to being competitive in the finals. Or is it not worth that extra money? Like, if you have the chance at the podium, which is going to give you more money than that increase versus just getting top 16 because your car isn't that fast. Like,
yeah, and
hunt for those edges and hunt for the most like cost-effective edges you can give yourself. Like
100%. And you don't really get this mindset until you've already tried. Because I did it myself, dude. I was saving every penny that I could, but then you get to a point. I learned this from Freddie. He was like, "Dude, you're already spending $5-6 grand to be." You know,
he taught us that too.
Yeah.
He's always like, why show up?
Yeah.
Like,
why show up
if you're not going to be the most effective you can be? It's like a waste of your time.
Yes.
Talked about that on the podcast with Dad. You know, people are like, oh my gosh, like you need like you're going to buy like a spare dog box and a spare crook change. It's like, dude, if you're going to spend $8,000 going to Utah and you blow a silly little, $4,000 diff, you just wasted $8,000, just burned it to the ground. You didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
Versus like coughing up that extra $4,000 in your season budget to having that spare like winner's case or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And
Freddie taught us that because we were pinching pennies in certain areas, and then it came a point where he says, "Why show up?" And I'm like, "Damn."
It's
Now
true,
we apply
dude.
that to everything. If we can throw in that extra % of grit or something, or that shaving that extra little bit of weight, or making this extra little bit of change to just get that 5%, that 5% in multiple areas of just pushing a little bit harder, making the car a little bit lighter, a little bit faster, it goes a long way.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's what the car this year, my mindset was to build it the lightest possible that we could. Because
what's it weigh?
It's a 20. It's actually we weighted it 2850, so we had to put 50 pounds extra to make weight.
Right.
So it's right at the limit, 2900.
Oh shit. Even like with no bumpers and dead tires and no gas, or like
yeah. So we did it. So after a run,
okay,
it loses about 16 pounds per run. I mean, per every 2 runs
between the fuel.
So
and the
we're
tires.
like 29, 20, 29, 25. The extra 10, 15 pounds that we needed is thanks to my cool suit full of ice and water, like the cool suit thing that I use.
Yeah.
That's what gives me the way to make it.
That's pretty slick.
So I can't not use the cool suit. Even if it's not gonna work, it still has to be full of water and ice, right, to make it into the weight. And so going on St. Louis, we went against Rudy, and we were faster than him on the straight. And even drifting, this is like 1,000-something horsepower car, and our vet with 650, it's like faster than it. So that's when you see like, man, lightness is really like where it's at. You don't have to push so much out of a motor that, the more horsepower that you ask out of it, the more unreliable you're going to make it.
Right.
So
and as long as you can kind of keep the power to weight ratio as similar, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So at 650, we're keeping up with thousands horsepower. That's like, that blew my mind. And everybody was around the pits. It was like, man, you got to watch out for the Corvette because it's really fast on the straight. And it really is, dude. Like when I was reviewing the footage compared to everybody else, it's like a dragster, dude.
Yeah.
It's so quick.
How fast can Lewis get down the hill and drive into the kitty litter?
Yeah, well,
no,
Atlanta, that was definitely...
giving you shit.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about that, though. What was it like? Because hopefully I'm going to be in your shoe right now next year. What was it like, going from the local pro-am that we do to just like showing up to ATL and having to drive like one of the most arguably one of the hardest FD tracks, like right out of the gate getting thrown to the wolves? What's it like?
So I wasn't worried about that. In my head, I was like, I have no problem. I can do this. I never even thought that I was going to hit the kitty litter. It's so out of my grasp. But there were so many things, like the car, we never really tested it properly. Our rear was so high. It was super stiff. It wasn't doing what it was supposed to. And on top of that, it was raining though. So my whole first laps was with a wet track, which
I remember that. It was super patchy.
Yeah. So I'm comfortable in the rain. I actually like it and I'd rather drive on it, but never driven the track before. And then the issues that we were having, I was like, the first lap that I ever did in Atlanta, I go off the line. It's patchy, but that's fine. So I start on second gear. As soon as I go off, the car starts bugging. So it's like, it's not getting the power. I'm like, shit, what's going on? So I rev it, get out. Then it starts going, second gear. Okay, third gear. When I look up, I'm already at like the 1. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta turn. And then it's like, bam, straight up to the kitty litter. That happened for
that was your first run,
That was my first run ever, straight into it. Never thought I was gonna be there.
debut right there.
Yeah, dude, it was like, I'm like, oh my God, how embarrassing. And that happened like 3 times until we actually figure out the whole fuel thing that was happening. So it turns out for first thing that I did was I upgraded to the quick fill on the canister, like the fuel thing, because for FD, you need as much practice as you can get. And I knew this from going in because they say you could get 12 laps if you make it, but for ProSpec, kitty litter, and like cars going off track and whatnot, you're barely going to have like 6-7 laps. And being able to fuel up and change tires as fast as possible as you can could be the difference between you doing one more lap. That is absolutely needed. So yeah, the issue that we had, and this is where it comes down to like having a good team and just having a good setup overall. It's like we were filling up the car, and it was like blowing it back out. Like we don't have a gauge reading, which is another mistake that we made. But so whenever we fill up, it was full. It was full. It wasn't full. It was just like
pushing it back.
The breather that we have is so small compared to the new big thing that inputs all the fuel that it didn't have enough
the fuel's going in faster than it can make it in.
Yes, so the
they're
fuel
like, oh, it's topped off. It's backing itself into the
damn pump.
I
swear I topped it off. It's like, bro, we had no fuel every single
crazy.
time. And it took us like 5 laps to figure that out. Yeah, it was
interesting issue.
Those little things and why testing prior to it is so important that I wish we would have had the time to actually run events with the brand new build on different tracks, but that's why Atlanta was so horrible for us. And I don't know how I made it through the seating bracket. It was like, by the grace of God, we got so lucky. But yeah, Atlanta was pretty horrible for us because of those things.
You've been doing better, though, so it's all right.
Yeah.
little rough start, but, rough start never hurt nobody. So you obviously come in here swagged out with the Zeknova merch. I do kind of want to talk about that because I remember I was in Jacksonville driving down to Orlando, and you called me, and we talk every now and then. Like, we'll just talk something to talk about, obviously for tires, but a lot. But even before then, we'll just like, hey, you driving this event? Like, I'm thinking about doing this, whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool. Luis is calling me. I answer it, and then you're like, hey, like, do you have a tire sponsor for the year? And I'm like, no, like, I'm just gonna buy the Zex again. But we hadn't bought Zex in a while, so like, I wasn't aware that a lot of people's Zex orders that were coming in around the time of this phone call, like, we're just like getting lost in limbo because I was just running on a couple pallet order from like 6 months prior that we just been milking. And I remember I was just like, no. And you were like, oh, like some stuff happened. And like, I want to try and get like, I'm going to try and like get a hold of and like be a US distributor for Zek. And what you told me was like unreal. I was like, holy shit. So I obviously prior I asked Luis if this was cool to talk about, but I'm gonna just let him talk about it because I almost don't fully remember everything and I do not want to get anything wrong. So yeah, just talk about what you told me on that phone call, basically.
Yeah. So this was going on when, long story short, it's basically the prior distributor stole money from a bunch of people, myself included. Full container loads that I paid for.
And containers, if you don't know, are expensive.
Yeah.
Pallets of tires are expensive.
Yeah.
What does the container hold?
It's about, depending on the sizes, more or less about 750 tires.
Okay, so we're not going to talk numbers, but go to Zeknova and do 750 times
like,
the cheapest tire on the website.
Yeah, it's over 70 grand.
Yeah, it's a lot of fucking money.
So, and originally I started dealing the tires because I tried them and I was like, man, this is it. Like, these are the tires that I have to drive on. And then I started like selling it to my buddies and stuff. So it was kind of like a way of me keeping stock for myself and making a little bit of money on the side because I was going to have the tires there anyway. So the whole reason that I actually went on and wanted a container was because it was hard to get them, which is something that I'm not sure why. And this is what we're trying to fix with Zex. It's like there's always an issue with tires. Like, if you're not looking for them a month or two in advance, chances are you're going to be like, they're sold out and you're not going to have them for the next event. So because of this, I was like, okay, I want to be consistent in the tire that I drive on. And then them not being able to bring them in as fast as possible, or at least that's what he said, like supply chain issues or whatnot. The whole idea of actually getting a container was mine. Like, I was like, oh, let me, you don't have enough to supply. Let me just get a full container. And that's where he got me. So I ordered that full container and months went by. I had no bill of lading, anything like that. It was just like, no, yeah, it's coming. It's in the water. It's in the whatever. All the excuses you can think of. Until
guy sounds like a damn politician.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And that was his way out. I think I found out later that all the shipping that he was paying. So you know how you were getting the tires shipped like in FedEx? Like,
yes.
Like none of
individually.
Those individually, yeah.
Which is so random.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And the reason because it doesn't happen is because it's extremely expensive to ship them that way.
Right.
You're talking about let's say 20 tires that a pallet will be like $250, $300. Now you're spending like $600, $700 to ship something out.
And the tires were still being offered as free shipping.
Yeah,
like we got the whole pallet
like,
shipped individual, each tire individually labeled, shipped for free.
Yes, yeah. So
I was like, yo, and they showed up before we paid. I was like, what?
And they would be like, oh no, it's because it's cheaper that way. And I'm like, dude, I've been dealing with FedEx and UPS for about 10 years now. Like that's
not a chance in hell that's cheaper.
And I found that out later because originally the first order that I made with them, I got them delivered. Like some guy drove on a trailer all the way and like they deliver it. So that's how I got the first load. And then that's when the issues started happening of not having them later on or whatnot. So later I found out that the reason that they were shipping them through FedEx like that was because he wasn't paying the FedEx bill. So essentially it was free for him, but because he wasn't paying for it. So he didn't only screw us, he screwed like everybody that was like dealing with him, like FedEx included and whatnot.
Is this dude in jail? Sounds like a lot of money laundering.
So I'm not sure where he's at. If anybody knows, like, please. So
this sounds like some very expensive. Like, what would the charge for that be? Like.
I mean, at least on me, it's on wire fraud.
Theft. I mean, it would have to be like felony theft at some degree. It has to be.
For sure. We got 2 lawsuits against him, and we have 2 judgments against him that
like ongoing or?
No, the judge basically, it's judged against him. Like he's supposed to pay them, but nobody knows where he's at. So it's one of those like.
That's crazy.
And what sucks about it more, it's like I say it's my own fault that this happened because he had prior issues like this. I looked up later on, if you looked up his name, back in the day, he used to be like a party promoter or something in California, and there was a bunch of people blasting him on forums. Imagine, like, this is prior to like social media. It's like, you know, back in the day, you used to look for forums and stuff.
Is crazy. Yeah. Now we just go on Snapchat.
Yeah, and if I would have done a better job at like searching him up and seeing what he was all about, I would have found that. But, it is what it is. Things happen for a reason.
Damn, we all got scammed by a club promoter. That is crazy behavior.
Yeah, and it's because he did the exact same thing in the party industry. Like he would throw parties and people will invest money on these parties, and then he would just disappear with all the gains and whatnot. Like, so it's not the first time that he's done it. And
it's crazy.
Yeah. So when he got that container order from me, that was probably his like.
He was like,
"This is it. This is what I was looking for."
Fucking retiring.
Got it. Yeah. And there's other people that he scammed for a lot of money as well. I don't know if I'm supposed to say, so
yeah.
I won't name names, but
completely understandable.
But definitely it sucks, and we get people ask us like, "Oh, like the last order that I made, it was $5,000, $10,000. Like I never got it. Like what are you gonna do about it?" And like, man, I can't put that because I myself got screwed.
Yeah.
And
people just gotta trust that it's in good hands now, which
it's like you can't really blame the manufacturer for the same thing. It's like, let's say you buy Costco. I don't know. You go buy at Costco some pallets of Gatorade, and they just say Costco doesn't fulfill it. It's not really Gatorade's fault. That's just one of the suppliers. It's really.
Right. And it just sucks because the way the whole thing was marketed is very similar to how you guys are with the whole Zeknova US. It gives people who don't have like a good business sense, it kind of just seems like they're buying direct, but it's not direct. It's just an official like dealer.
Distributor. So like us now, we are buying directly from Zeknova.
Right. But in this guy's case, he has his own thing. He's dealing with them.
Yeah, he had a contract. And even when this whole thing happened that I contacted Zeknova directly, sent him proof of the wire info and everything and how we are not getting anything. And they told me, it's like, yeah, no, he never ordered that container. That never even talked about it. He did have a contract. He was a U.S. distributor.
Right.
Which is kind of...
I'm just saying, the way it seems is it doesn't even seem like he's a distributor. It seems like it's like, this is Zeknova. Like, I am buying from like the corporate like office who's just selling in the U.S.
Yeah.
Where really it's an individual dealer who has an officially licensed authority, but...
Yeah.
He's like a middleman at the end of the day. It's not like you're just ordering on Nike.com. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and at the end of the day, that's how the world works. There's nobody, you don't really buy from the factory, especially so Zeknova is all over the world. I don't know if you saw recently, there's this reel that kind of got viral. It's a black Supra with the wheels on the tires on fire, and he's like drifting it. You probably haven't seen it, but I'll show it to you later.
Because I'm just like a boomer when it comes to drifting content.
It's all good.
This on Jacob's episode. Like I'm bad about watching drifting content.
So that was so cool, and it's a Zeknova driver in Paris, and it's just such a cool reel because the tires are on fire while he's drifting. It looks super cool. But yeah, Zeknova is all over the world. It's distributed everywhere, so you can't really have a manufacturer distribute all over the world because like importing into every country is differently. The duties, like custom taxes, everything is just such a nightmare. Just for me, by myself, to do it on the US, it's so many laws that you have to go by. Trying to do it on the whole world is impossible.
Right. The logistics it takes just to get those tires in one place, let alone all these different countries and continents, it's not something that it's not worth the manufacturer's time to add on when they can just make a bunch of money creating the product and getting it to people to handle that business.
Definitely.
Which makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. So you took over that with some business partners, if I'm not mistaken, right? Is that correct? Or
well, originally I went in by myself. I saw it as an opportunity of I can't let this tire die, dude. Like it's so good. Like I want to keep driving on it. And even though I was already down, I'm like I just doubled down. It's funny because like I talked to some friends that like gamble and like. Obviously, this is not us gambling, but we make fun. It's like the only time that you lose at gambling is when you stand up and leave. If you stay in it, you're losing. You're still home. There's still a chance. So yeah, that's basically what I did. I just doubled down and
you lost all
more.
on black and you went back in.
Yeah, I went back in, and just mainly because I really trust the product, and it gave me that championship. I still believe that it did, and yeah, it's been good. I started the first. So if you want to know more about the story of like how I became to be the distributor, it's in the Zeknova. It's a first reel on the Zeknova Instagram, and that talks about like basically everything that happened. So yeah. Anyway, I started it. I ordered the first container, seeing how it's gonna play out, how many orders I was gonna get. It was kind of like a Hail Mary because everybody knew about what happened. So having somebody else sell the tires, it was going to be hard because the trust had been completely lost. Like nobody was going to buy these tires for a while. So that's why I had to put my name out there. For the people in Florida that already knew me, I knew it was going to be fine. But everybody else in the United States, it's still iffy,
I had people messaging me, and I was like, hey, like, just to let you know, like, I'm partnered with them now, and like, I did this because like one of my like best friends like took over this. Like, I believe and stand by what's going on. Like, everything is in good hands. Like, I got the whole details of every shitty thing that happened to so many people, including my best friend, one of my best friends, and he's here to make sure that doesn't happen and people just get a great product and like
for sure.
And I was stoked when you reached out because we had already been driving on the Zex, just buying them through that guy.
Yeah.
Because for what we were running before, even with no discount, it was about $50 cheaper. And from our own testing, gathered that it was a better tire, like life-wise, grip-wise. We were just like, this is it, and it's cheaper. So we were just paying full price and driving on it. And then I've always been very hesitant about like a tire sponsor because like they come and go, and how good they are comes and goes, and things change, compounds, and then all of a sudden it's not as good. And it's like, then you're kind of, if somebody starts showing up with a better tire, you're like tied down. You're stuck. Yeah. But with the Zek, I was like, dude, like we are running that best tire. Like this is it. Like, so I was kind of just like, okay, like I'm interested. Like you talked about like, you were mentioning on the phone call that you were in the works with it. And then when we finally got everything to conclude, it brought our first serious tire sponsor on board. We still, obviously, this is like our first like full like start season because of when everything happened. And it's obviously shown to work. Plenty of people on the podium. We got 2 wins last year on the Zex, like unsponsored, and we're still continuing to podium like in Texas with it. So and not just myself, I'm not tooting my own horn, like a ton of Zek drivers. Like it's so cool to see the Zex kind of showing up and showing out because it's like really is that tire, and it's a lot cheaper than competitors. Like,
yeah, dude. And everybody in Florida is running it now, which is or not everybody, but like 90% of drivers in Pro-Am are running it.
even grassroots guys. I saw a lot of people just at King of OSW in stock Z's running 265 Zex, running away from me on the damn skid pad. I was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, dude. And it's that the reason for like that call, and like I basically called everybody to see like whose support I was gonna get. And I know the tire is good enough that it could sell itself, but you still have to be able to showcase it to people, and so they can see what it can do. There's still people in the United States that have never driven on the tire, and that they don't know about it. So it's one of those things like I wanted to bring the tire in, but you also have the whole money flow aspect of it, because it takes about, for South Florida, it takes about 2 months for it to reach here after they leave the factory. So you have those 2 months of like money just sitting there on a container somewhere in the seas, making its way here.
You gotta wait for that money to come back in.
100%.
You gotta pay for it before it gets shipped. So.
Yeah, and it's not like I couldn't do a pre-sale because nobody has trust in it. So that's one of the first things that I did when I went into this venture. It was like, I'm not going to ask for a penny for anybody until I physically have the tires on myself, mainly because there are so many factors that could happen. Like a container can fall out on the water. So then now you're like the guy that's trying to come in to earn people trust, and something like that happens, they're not going to believe it.
Right.
So yeah, it was like one of those things like, okay, I got to like figure out a way that I can have these tires here. And once they're actually here, we can start distributing it. And as that happened, and tires were already here, and I started selling, people started seeing. That's when I got contacted by like Team No Threat, Tom and Tyler. They're out of Tampa, and he runs a massive business of I don't even know what he does, but
Bro,
it's like standoffs.
Don't go into business with Luis.
No,
I'm
like
kidding,
so
I'm kidding.
Standoffs. It's like, I don't know how to explain it, but if you want to know about it,
why does that sound so familiar? What is that?
Like, it's just things that
standoffs, like
most people use for conventions and stuff to like stand stuff. It's the silliest thing, but he has a massive business on it.
Is it like the little like I don't know.
There are little things like that like hold things together. I don't know. Yeah. Tom's probably gonna make fun of me from this.
Yeah, I mean, shit, I'm looking stupid too.
But if you have time, just Google it, and he's amazing guy. And
how am I like not remembering what like a standoff is?
Yeah, it's I still
so
even after you see it, like you don't even know that this is a big business. But
that's cool. I didn't know that they had like he was like. That's sick. I just love when people have business. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
We're in like the one place where you can like have an idea and really push it, and you and your whole family benefit from it.
Yeah.
So I love when I hear about people just having big successful business. I'm like, hell yeah.
So he reached out. He wanted to get to know me, and I wanted to get to know them too, because same thing. I don't want this thing to happen again of like selling and people not getting their tires and whatnot. So I went out to Tampa, met with them. We had a great, first off, like meeting them and stuff. And now we have an amazing relationship. It's like buddies that we drift together, and like we understand each other, and we know what needs to happen. And our end goal is to have the tire reach out like throughout the whole United States, like being able to people to buy it at an affordable price and just use it, because it's a great product. It's a great tool. And it's one of those things that drivers can use and not spend so much money on. So that was the main goal. He aligned with me 100%. And yeah, that's how we ended up getting the distribution center in Tampa and Vegas. And we want to keep growing the brand and the tires and being able to, because the main thing that kills it is the shipping prices. That's really where it adds up, You add an extra $30 to a tire, that's like, it's a big chunk of money.
Certainly.
Especially for drift car drivers, we go through them. So I'm happy to say, like, now Chicago is going to be there in a couple of weeks, so we're going to get that container out there. Denver's next. So now we're like specific points all throughout the United States that allows us to supply the tires.
Find these kind of midpoints in the shipping route to where you can cut down that cost and get people in those areas really more motivated to buy it, which is cool.
100%. And I knew for a fact since the beginning, like, we needed to have this. And it's been awesome, dude. Like, now we're getting like daily orders, which is amazing. I originally wanted to like bring down the cost of the tire. After having these different places making it from the shipping prices. But now, if you're familiar with the whole thing that's going on, like, container prices went up like twice from like since we started. So we're like, instead of dropping the price of the tire, I'm like eating up on some of the costs just so we can like maintain. Because it also sucks, like, we start out on a tire and now you raise the price when it's like,
which historically happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, price went up on things.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, but like, so now it's like less good.
Yes.
The whole package is less valuable.
100%. So the guys that signed up with us and like trusted us throughout the process, I'm like trying to help them out and keeping them on the same price. But like everything, it's going up in price, and like you're gonna start seeing prices go up on tires like pretty soon in the next few months. Yeah. Which sucks, but you know, I'm really doing my best. I'm really doing my best to try to keep it down there, guys. It's gonna be definitely, it's my main goal. And yeah, you know, just keep trying at it. And I think it eventually by next year, Zeks are gonna be all across the US and being the main tire for people to run.
That's what I hope. And I think you put that extremely well. And I like how much you and your partners care about like the price and the availability and just being able to consistently get an affordably good, effective tire. Like, you guys seem to be the first people that I've ever met from a tire company that are just like about the customer. I mean, that's rare nowadays in any business. You know what I mean? Like,
and it has to do that we're drifters ourselves. You know, you don't really have anybody else running tires that they're out there doing it. So we grew up, or not grew up, but we know what you guys go through. We go through it ourselves.
You're still going through it. Like, it's not like you guys like stop. So
yeah, 100%.
It keeps you guys on the same page with all the customers, which is great.
Yeah.
Which I feel like hasn't really happened before with at least the more trendy tire deals and tire companies that came about into drifting. I think it's been a different kind of approach.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's really cool.
So very cool. That's what we're aiming for, and that's why we're there. And you know, I'm at a track the same way as you guys. So any questions that you want to be asked for, just come up. It's really cool because now I'm like the main tire guy, and that's what everybody talks to me about. But that's cool. I mean, it's what's gotten me through this that I'm doing now, and it's the main reason that I'm actually going through FD, because now we have a business that we can grow. And even though we can't advertise the tire on FD because it's not a partner, people still know, and we're out there. And whenever it's not FD, we go to the other events and it's there. And whenever I can, I bring tires up for guys so they save on that shipping, because it doesn't really cost me. It costs me like an hour to fill up a tire, but still, it's part of it, and I love it.
Hell yeah.
It's really
and
awesome.
I want to talk about a couple like little side stories to kind of validate your character and our friendship over the last few years.
You want to put a pause and refill?
We only got like 10 minutes left.
Okay,
cool. But something I wanted to talk about is just the few moments we've had that, one, before the whole Zeknova thing I had already was sold on your authenticity and your genuine character before like the having any kind of, you know, driver to business relationship, is first when the day that we beat you and we circled back and talked about earlier, like totaling the cars damn near, and my car was like down for the count. I had that rocker arm pedestal brake, and Mr. Lewis brings his other car, because I don't know if somebody was driving it on the other OSW like skid pad side of the event, but we were pitted next to each other, and at the snap of the fingers, we're like, if you guys can go rip that car apart and like get the, you know, valve covers off and start ripping it apart and get the pedestal out, just do it, and like we'll push the car on the trailer later tonight, and I'll invoice you for whatever you guys need. And you did that, and like we were out, like we were done for. You know, the car was making no power, it was blatantly broken. We had physically opened it up and seen it, and you were just like, rip apart this perfectly functioning car that I technically am supposed to be like driving on the other side and having other people drive and use whatever. And we ripped it apart and we got the car back together. And then unfortunately have led on to beat you in the same event. But and then at the end of the night, it's like all smiles on the face. Like, I'll let you know how much it costs. Like, good job.
Yeah.
And then even now, recently, just like at round 1, for example, like me being an idiot and driving too hard and beating a front tire, and then robbing you of one of your front tires that you need to have as a spare to go drive FD New Jersey the next weekend. And you're just like, yeah, man, like, I got you. Like, you need it right this moment. Take it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
it's part of, I think before that happened, I've seen, I think it was another sport, but it comes to like the saying of, you want the guy that you're going up against to have the exact same opportunities and chances that you do, because that win is going to be just way sweeter than if he just lost because he didn't have something, you know? So yeah, I know for a fact that I would have won the whole thing if I wouldn't have given you the part from my old car, but it wouldn't have been sweet. At the end of the day, it ended up, we still got the championship regardless. So it didn't really matter in that sense. And I'd rather take a loss than an undone win, like a win that you don't deserve or whatnot.
And we didn't know that we were going to battle either. We knew that we were on the opposite sides of the bracket, so that we could at least both make it to the finals. We knew it wasn't going to like kill you, but you very easily could have just not been like, hey, rip apart my street car. Like,
yeah, like I going through, like I knew that on that side of the bracket you were gonna end up like up there, because it was like, come on, it's Ryan. He's definitely gonna be.
I appreciate
that's gonna be our last battle, but. Yeah, like it doesn't matter, dude. Like, I think it's one of those things, like the more people that you help out, because I've been in need as well, and I've had tons of people that have helped me out to be able to make it through an event. So yeah, it happens. So I think it's the good thing about the culture, like the drifting culture, that everybody's out there to help each other out. And it's definitely amazing whenever you need something so bad and somebody hands out whatever it is that you need. That's like why I chose drifting to be my full career path.
Yeah. No, I definitely think you're right about that. Compared to other motorsports, especially, it's like we have such a giving community. Duarte and Adam and Drift HQ investing in the whole Drift HQ van and spending their own money and investing in having a parts van that carries all these wildly random parts that like nobody's gonna just have sitting around. The random angle kit pieces for BMWs, the most popular chassis. Just having that on demand and having a business that offers it is really cool. And then, just in Georgia the other day, like our buddy Nick needed a tow arm. We literally gave him one of the spares out of our comp car, which now that I'm speaking of this, I forgot to call that and tell him that ISR is out of stock. So we have no spare tow arms right now.
Oh, shit.
But at least we have another 2 Zs that have ISR tow arms. But just like moments like that, you just really like, you sit back and you're like, damn, dude, we have such an open community that's like willing to almost like metaphorically, like give the shirt off their back for someone else. And it's cool. And you did that. And it's what really earned our trust. And I was just like, I knew when you took this whole Zek endeavor, I was just like, he's the right guy for it. He's the genuine, like, like you would have like given us a pallet of tires to go compete if it was your last pallet in before you went out there and did it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of shit you would do. Like,
yeah, dude. I mean, I think it's what everybody should do. It's like the norm. It shouldn't be the outside norm of things. So yeah, dude. Just as long as you do good, good's gonna come right back at you. It's
for sure.
Be
the best you can be when you're out there in the world, whether it's drifting or your day-to-day life. You don't know what other people's going through. You don't know what kind of challenges people have. So just trying to be that difference. If everyone were trying to be that difference, how much better the world would be. How much better a community would be if everyone was like, how do we make this better? Instead of just shining light on the negatives or what's happening to them or other people, it would reach us to new heights.
100%. Yeah.
Well, Luis, thank you so much for coming on. We didn't get to talk too much about Zek than I would have liked, so I think we'll have to get you back down here for another episode.
Yeah, dude,
maybe
for sure.
When we do round 3 at Orlando, you can pop back in. That would be kind of cool to get you to swing back in, and that'd be cool. I would be sick if we could. I do want to get a setup where I can do multiple people. It'd be sick if we could get the no tread guys in here, like the ones that are investors with you, so and kind of have like a really Zeknova focused like episode to kind of just like help put you guys on and kind of get to air out like a lot of knowledge and information and kind of just help showcase it, because I believe in the tire. I've been working with you guys, and it's something that I try very hard to push people on and spend their money, because I want people in the drifting is expensive. You know, people are spending a lot of money. I want people to spend money where it's worth. You know, and if I firmly believe that with how affordable the Zek tire is compared to competitors, and how much performance and grip and life it offers, that like your money is truly well best spent on this tire. And like, not because I'm getting it like a little bit cheaper than I was last year, and last year I was just paying for it. So it's like, it's not, there's no like, you know, I'm not like, yo, like, buy Zex. I'm just like, no, like we are fast because we're on Zex in one of the heaviest cars. Like, it's just like, I try and preach it to people. So it'd be cool to kind of get all of you guys on and talk about it, and give you guys like a sick platform to showcase it on.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something like nobody's really getting sponsored tires the whole way. Not even myself, when I distribute them, I still pay for them. But it's one of the few things, like when I started this business, and there's a couple of things that we could have done. I could have just getting to really popular, or a couple more really popular guys, YouTubers or social media giants that, you know, give them free tires, and they'll go ahead and give you a shout, and you sell tires, because it's crazy what they have as a reach. Like it just happens. I took it more of when I was starting out, I reached out to a couple of companies and I didn't get anything. So it was like I still had to pay full price or try to find discounts or whatnot. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to try to help, if I could help as many people as I could in the price of the tire. It'll just make it on its own. And I think I made the best choice that I could have, because everybody's so appreciative of, even though you guys are only getting a discount, it's still more than anything else, that especially with tires and drifting, like it's so hard because they're so expensive.
Yeah, it's not a cheap item.
Yeah. And it's not like, okay, you get it free one time and then that's it, you know, like you get upset. It's not, you need constant tires. So it's basically what I did was like, whatever money I was going to spend on advertising with one single guy that he was going to get free tires, I was like, let's just cut a discount for everybody else and keep the prices of the tires themselves lower.
Which is good, because that's going to help the customer, the general consumer. All these guys at the local tracks that are getting their hands on Zex, a really good tire, that's what's giving them the ability to do that, is because you approached it like that, which is really sick, because like I said, I feel like that's not the same kind of approach that we've seen in the past from other bigger tire companies and whatnot. So I applaud you for that. And I think it's cool. So it's really sweet.
And it's not a cheap tire. The price of it is low because we're doing it on purpose to be low. And then the extra percentage that you guys get, it's just like, thanks for helping us out and putting the tire out there and getting on podiums, because it's like, it's you know, the battle tested podium proven slogan that we carry with it. It's like, it's because it's true, you know, this tire will get you on the podium. Certainly. And possibly a win. So the whole thing, and I'm trying to be as transparent as possible that I could. And anybody that asks me, you know, I straight up tell them like, yeah, you know, we're not in this business to be rich or to make money. As of now, I'm in this business so I can keep bringing more tires and have more accessibility, which I think in the long run, it's going to allow me to either keep the prices low, or if prices increase, or if prices, you know, go down a little bit, we might be able to lower the price of the tire. But that is my main goal. I'm not in it to like, that's not how I feed my family. So it's a full-time team effort of just trying to help the community and trying to see if other companies follow our footstep. You know, if we can run a company this way, and just basically we're running a nonprofit. But at the same time, that's the end goal. We want to be able to have other companies come in and be like, the guys that are out there on the weekends, you know, turning laps and showcasing products, like those are the guys that I think we need to help. And even if it's just a discount, it goes a long way compared to like paying full price, you know?
Definitely. Especially on a consumable like a tire.
Yeah, 100%. So anybody that wants to join the team, we have like the sponsorship program to just fill out. We accept everybody unless you're, you know, a bad character and
don't go to takeovers.
Yeah, things like that. As long as you're professional and you try to do good, you're gonna be part of the team. and your discount tiers will go up and down depending on how much you help us out and you help the community.
Right.
So that's the end goal. And I really appreciate you for having me. It's awesome that we come to hang out and drink some beers with my buddy.
Right, yeah. Until PRI.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have some fun up PRI.
I always tell people about PRI, I'm like, yo, if you've never gone, you should go. Like, if you just like drinking with like a lot of really, really cool people, like you should just go. Like, even if it's just a vacation for you, like you should just go.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, for sure. It's like
we had a good time. We had a ball.
It's a lot cheaper than a drift event. So
yeah, and it's a lot of fun too.
It's a lot
and
of fun.
it's good networking too. So I always like tell people about it, and I'm like, they're like, it just sounds like you were drinking with a bunch of like professional people, and I'm like, yeah, but like if a guy was responsible for investing money, you know, he not only wants to do it in people that he thinks can deliver it, but people that he likes, people that he sits down and gets to see the real them. Even if the real them is getting a little buzz and talking over beers, that shows your character and who you are and how you handle yourself in public. And I think it goes a long way. Like just that face-to-face interaction, having a good time, they get to really kind of see who you are. And it's a big key to like what you can land in the future. So
for sure. We shouldn't be saying this because then a lot more people are going to go to PRI.
Everybody's going to go to PRI. We're going to be like, damn, we're getting no sponsors.
That's how it is, man. That's how it is. And like just straight up pitching, I like to try to get people to sponsor you or whatnot. It kind of like, now that I'm doing the tire thing, I understand from the other point of view. And so all the guys that are at the booth, now I see them and how frustrating it is that every single guy goes talk
like, hey, give me money. Give me money. Hey,
like
give me money.
Pitching. Yeah. So it's definitely, you got to make friends with these people and just have a friendship that's not just because you're trying to ask for something. Just have it there. And then I think it'll just come that way.
Yeah.
Like it'll happen.
No, I agree. Well, Luis, thank you so much for taking the time to drive all the way up here and come hang out and film this episode. Like I said, I'd love to get you guys back on. If we can get the other guys down here, that'd be really cool. But thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for watching another episode of Off Grid with Mr. Luis Lanz, FD ProSpec King, Zeknova US. He's done it all. He's won the championship, but never beat me. But
it's coming, right?
It's not coming. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week with another episode of the Off Grid Podcast. Peace.